What's up, man?
Hey,
Happy Tuesday.
you said what? It's Tuesday, and it is 8:07. We're late, but I think I'm gonna start it off with the video. Let's do it. All right, so now we officially started the show. How you doing?
Well,
How you
it's
doing today?
Tuesday, man. It's Tuesday. That's for darn sure. Little late. FedEx decided that they didn't want to wait an extra 20 seconds to for me to answer my door, so they took off. Unfortunately, for me, the package that they took off with, right, had a very expensive card in it, right? So I wasn't going to leave that one in the warehouse with all the shipping issues that I've had as of late. Definitely couldn't have that card go missing. So I apologize to everyone for being a little late.
Yep,
Thank
it's
you,
your
Ralph,
fault.
for holding the car for me while I ran and jumped in. But here we are. How you doing?
Good, man. For the most part, tired, man. I've been running around all day preparing for this Dallas show that's coming up weekend, and I'm probably gonna pop up at Nashville as well, like probably on Sunday.
Yeah.
But man, it's like I posted on my comment really like about the fact that we got two big shows in one weekend, and literally we just had one show this past weekend, which we had to go to another side of the country. But had we had a Nashville show this past weekend, how successful would that one show be by itself?
Yeah. Yeah. Simple timing, right? Timing is everything. So how could it uh how could we do better? So be better,
Man,
do better. I mean,
I
we
don't know,
talked about
man.
that the other day. We don't talk on Tuesdays, but we did talk about it the other day in sense that, like, for Culture Collision, you're gonna
Yeah,
have multiple shows next year. You're gonna
yeah,
put it out way ahead of time. So if people start to put it the dates and they mirror the dates that you have,
yeah.
at some point you're gonna have to say it was intentional.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's kind of a messed up theory, man. But at the end of the day, I mean, like I try to honestly, that was one of the reasons why we was only do one show a year. I felt like if I did one show a year, people could just stay out the way. Like, hey man, you got one show a year. We don't have to be in this way. We all can win. The hobby wins, you know what I'm saying? Like because we can create something that we all, you know, what we love. We can
Yeah,
create an idea that we love and we want to make because at the end of the day it was all to make the hobby better. I know that when we came up with Culture Collision about almost I guess 3.5 years ago, at this point it's crazy it's been that long, but 3.5 years ago it was meant to kind of push the limits on what we see at sports card shows, and I think we did a successful job at that. You started seeing a lot of ideas mirrored in in different shows. And also I'm not gonna sit here, make it easy to say, say I didn't come up with other ideas by myself. I mean, it was ideas that I picked up on as well, but that's what it's all about, right? Pushing and making each other better.
correct.
So I mean, I think I'm learning to appreciate that more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, Culture Collision, obviously, it was birthed with an idea and it evolved, right? It evolved to what it is today.
Yep.
The September show is going to be better than the January show. And
Yep.
then next year's January show is going to be better than the September show. So
As we trying to
just
get better.
just hang on tight, man. It isn't just like they said, a bunch of old guys just sitting around all day trying to sell vintage sports cars, man. We're actually trying to push the needle here. And again, I support Culture Collision wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
part of the brand. But man, enough about that, man. What's our topics for today, man?
All right. Well, before we get into the topics, I want to make sure everybody that has shout out to Joel Garza. I appreciate you, my brother. I know he bought him a Coach Collision hat. I don't know if you received it yet, but I hope you have, and I hope you rock it with encouragement. Because honestly, man, you're gonna be one of the only few that actually has one of them. And if you don't have one, I actually put the barcode here at the top, and I'm gonna try to keep it up through the post of the show, most of the show, because I want to get these things sold out. not just for Culture Collision, but more so just for our culture in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the collectible space. And then we're gonna kind of get into these topics. So recently
He
we
got it.
just okay, good. Appreciate it. So, and I appreciate your support. So appreciate the guys that are on Instagram as well. I always like to think about those guys as well. I try to bounce back and forth. But today's topic we want to kind of talk about is Walmart,
Hmm.
GameStop. They all want to jump into the space. So it must mean that they've been reading some reports.
Yeah, man, they found out that there's a little bit of money to be made over here.
Man, I mean, that I think if you think about the fact that eBay probably generates, I think at one point in time, I think it was like 64 million dollars, or maybe it could be
Billion.
$1 billion.
It
I
was
think
a
it was
billion.
64. Yeah, so $64 billion in 1 year. And that was probably quoted probably in 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, how long do you think it's going to take for these other spaces to say, hey, look, we want to get in. We want to figure out a way to be a part of it.
Well, I think. I mean, obviously, Walmart had the 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 boxes already, right? So, I
Yeah,
guess
they know
the
it's
the other
busy.
the other thing that you saw was before Walmart, Target was doing it already, where they were selling slabs on their website, and obviously, it was probably through a third party vendor. It wasn't something that they were just keeping on the shelves, but it was something that they were doing. So I think that the stuff that Walmart is doing, I think they're going to be selling sports cards, but
They are.
um, well, it'd be interesting to see how they kind of curate that to fit their needs and that dynamic. The other thing that Fanatics I think has kind of brought to the table was they started to sell sports cards in their stores. Right, whenever I walked into a Fanatics store in the mall, they
Yeah.
have a space specifically for sports cards. Right, so I think that the more retail space that the hobby is taking up on shelves, the more businesses that are going to start adopting it. Maybe one day we start to see Foot Locker get in on it, right?
Mm.
And some of these other places, we'll see. I think that they're trying to make the brick and mortars a little more relevant for people to want to go in and shop at.
Well, I do think it's a great theory. I mean, we're starting to see we got GameStop buying PSA slabs, which I think is very smart on their behalf. Especially if you think about them from a retail chain perspective and how attractive they look for companies like Tops and Fanatics, right? Fanatics wants to get into the brick and mortar space. How does that look with bringing in like a situation where they buy GameStop and now they have a new collectible, base with video games, right? Because we've seen video games sell for crazy numbers being encapsulated, right? So that's a collectible space. Then you have Funko Pops and toys and
Yep.
everything else that are all in that genre. I think it makes companies like GameStop very attractive to companies like Fanatics. I
But the
mean,
other thing, right, as I was watching season 2 of Golden, video games, right?
yeah,
Video games are
pop
collectibles,
culture.
right? So it's
Yeah,
one of those things too where it's almost another culture of, a collision of cultures, right? Where you have video games now being introduced, you have
absolutely.
sporting memorabilia being introduced,
Absolutely.
you have, like you said, pop culture with, you know, um, and it's a shame that you don't have as many record stores and music stores anymore because what would have that have kind of transitioned to if you start to see more records and more vinyl sold in that regard as well. So I mean, maybe we're a little post, right? That generation, that I grew up in. Before we didn't have Apple Music where you can just hop on and all the new music was there. You would
Yeah.
wait for a cassette tape to be released. You would wait for a CD to be released. Kind of like these shoes that are being released. You go stand in a line and wait for this music to be had. Now it's readily available. You can pick up your phone and have the latest track, right? That it drops
Yeah.
in a mere seconds now. So it's going to be interesting. This new dynamic. Maybe they're trying to bring back, like you said, people back to brick and mortar because right now it's all online, right? It
Yeah, I
really
mean, I
is.
think I think the retail space is very challenging because I can't really say. I think that it's safe to say that most people are buying online more than they are at a mall. But I mean, we still have the nostalgia of going to a ball, right? So I don't know what that experience is like with having GameStop to be like a card shop. If they
Yeah.
pivot over to be a card shop, which I mean, I think is definitely a great idea, right? Because I said, I mean, they have access to, fanatics can come in, infuse them with what they need to become a more efficient hobby shop, right? Being able to get wax at retail spots, right? At the wholesale price, and then be able to sell it at their. But I think there's some other elements that are definitely missing. But I think that, you know, before there was GameStop, there was a company called FYE, For Your
Mm.
Entertainment. You ever heard of them?
No.
They were a company back in the day that actually used to have infusing video games, music, pop culture, toys, and everything else. And they had this one house. I'm telling you how old I am right now. So so basically, like, you had everything all under one umbrella. And I think that, I mean, that's the infusion of what you see at Culture Collision, right? Which is being able to have a lot of different people come into one space and say, hey, you know, this is a collectible too. This is something that's cool too. So I think it's very interesting with companies like Walmart getting in. I know I did see at one point in time a couple of years ago, I used to see sneakers on Walmart for resale. And I know that seeing like sports cards, and if you go on Walmart's website and you type in Prism basketball, you're gonna see boxes sold at resale. So now you get, like, now that they're actually like pretty much legitimizing their space by actually doing like a marketplace. I think that's a really cool idea. I think it's a really cool idea. I'm pretty excited to see what the future holds for GameStop. Hopefully we can get GameStop to be a part of Culture Collision going to the force. If anybody got any connects, make sure you know we can make that happen. If not, love to have Walmart there as well. I think it's very important to have as many people like these companies. You want to see these companies become successful in this space, because that's how you truly 10x this hobby, which is making it inclusive to people, to average people or average collectors, and like people who want to learn the space but don't know anything about the space, you know. And shoot, I wouldn't be surprised Amazon gets in at some point.
Oh man, I mean they're kind of in already. Like you can go
Yeah,
on and you can buy like supplies. I know that already, right?
yeah.
I think that
But they don't have a
there's.
marketplace though. They don't
I
have
mean,
a. They don't have
that's all
the
Amazon is
GameStop.
a
They don't have
marketplace.
the. But they don't have the. But they don't have. But yeah, I agree. Amazon is a marketplace, but it's different though.
You mean like
Mark,
me to go on there and say, "Hey, I want to sell this PSA 10
well, you can't
Jordan."
negotiate. So, like on PWCC website, you can negotiate and say, or alt, right? If they have stuff that's in vaults, you can negotiate, you can haggle, you can communicate, right? You don't have those. You don't have those things on those platforms yet. And
Yeah.
I think that's because they don't have the right people hired yet. And I know these things can change, but it's like I like the direction that they're going. But what I don't want to happen is the situation that happened to StockX, right?
Mm.
Remember when Josh Luber was in charge of StockX? StockX was actually focused on bringing in the collectible space because they were buying PSA slabs. They still are, but they don't market it the way that they used to. I think in 2019 we saw StockX at the National. We haven't seen them since.
Hmm. Hey, I don't think Jeff Bezos needs any more money on Amazon, man.
Oh,
I
stop
mean,
it. Jeff Bezos is not going to complain about having a lot of money. I think it's probably the least of his worries. If I'm him, I want more money. So him figuring out a way to sleep easy at nighttime is probably the biggest blessing you could probably have. You know, outside of a good family. But
but like you said, 10x in the hobby, man. I mean, it's encouraging to see more people being introduced,
yeah,
more than just a casual person that goes to a card show every now and then.
yep,
Because I mean, if you ask the average person, they don't know how to find a card shop. I mean, some of the
nope.
local shows that I have here in Houston, people don't know about them. They were like, "Oh, there was a card show going." All right,
Well,
because you can only reach so many people.
well, you know what we used to see, and this is something, and I hate being negative, but I want to be realistic. Um, we're going to see a lot of card shops close up at some point.
Yep.
We're starting to see card shops that opened up during the boom. Oh man, making money hand over fist. Didn't learn how to pivot. I always tell people this: don't be like Blockbuster.
Nope.
Blockbuster had opportunity to become Redbox. They didn't want to be Redbox. They decided to be Redbox later on when Redbox and Netflix took over. Now
Yep.
nobody cares about Blockbuster. But
Yeah, they
I
don't care
think that,
about Redbox either.
hey, so there you go. So I think that being able to pivot while learning at the same time is what's going to help you get to the next level. So I think it's good to be able to see companies jump in, but I don't want to see them lose, to like be discouraged. Like, because I ain't gonna lie to you, I've reached out to StockX to be a part of Coach Collision.
No.
I've had conversations with the CEO, and I said to him, "Hey, look, I want you to be a part of the show. How can we make that happen?" Not gonna say other conversations that's happened, but let's just say that, I think the direction that they're going is a little different from where I feel like they probably should be going. But that's the difference of opinion. But I think that at the end of the day, right, if we want to 10x the hobby, want to bring in new people, I think it's important for us to open these doors for these guys and put the right people and the guys who want to get into the space. Please put the right people in place. That way we can actually, because we don't know you guys. That's the only discouraging part, right? Is we don't know you. We knew Josh Luber once we introduced her. He introduced himself to the hobby, and it was like, oh yeah, he's really a collector.
So the cool thing, right? We're talking about 10x in the hobby. We're talking about bringing more people into the hobby. So I had a card that ended on golden over the weekend, and I told my mom, like, hey, there's a show on Netflix. It's called The Golden Touch, right? I'm selling the card on that website. She was like, oh, I saw that show. She said, I was going to tell you about it. I didn't know if you knew about golden or not. So it's really interesting how those kinds of shows, right, that Netflix is really bringing a lot more casual buyers to the space just because of, that advertising there for us.
Yeah. I mean, but that's what it's all about. That's what I think. That's why golden will continue to succeed at least on the Netflix specials, right? Because I feel like we want to see them win. We need to see them win, right? You may not agree with everybody's, and I've said this a long time ago. We talked to guys at Backyard Break. I talked to we talked to in Miami, Nick. Yeah. So I talked to Nick in Miami, Backyard Breaks, and I said to him, hey, look, everybody that may not necessarily agree with what you guys do, but what you guys do is bring awareness to the space.
Yep.
That's what's important, right? Versus, and even Jeff Wilson, he brings awareness to the space. You may not like him, you may not agree with him, and you may not agree with me. But at the end of the day, right, the whole point is to educate, have comfortable conversations or uncomfortable conversations, and figure out a way to make things better. It's, because we go to shows every single weekend and we deal with a lot of the issues that we continue to see all the time. We know, like, we're kind of we're the movers and shakers in the space. Anybody that's a weekend warriors are movers and shakers in the space. And what we know is a lot better than what we know more about this space than people are in the corporate rooms. Now, they may know the analytical aspect of it, but we are the movers and shakers that know what's going on.
Yeah. See, and I'm old school, right? So I got a chance to shake Nick's hand. There in Hobby Slam. And the thing that I enjoyed, and I told this to his face, and I'll tell you guys, the thing that I like about those guys is that they're not being steel, right? Yeah. They're finding ways to be innovative. And one of the things that they recently did that I thought was amazing was they were breaking new product at PSA,
being innovative,
and grading it there at PSA, right? Yeah. Now, again, there's breakers out there that actually break and they'll submit cards to you for grading and then you get them back in a week. These guys were breaking. They were giving, as soon as they broke, they would give the orders over to PSA, and PSA would have them back the very next day. And during their lives, as they're breaking, they're showing the grades for all of the people who got the hits, right? Yeah. And whether it was a cheap rookie hit or an expensive rookie hit, they were all getting graded. So they legit had the first PSA 10s to market because of this new strategy. And I thought it was genius.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that's something that I hope they continue to do it. I hope they do it with premium product. I think that's important to do. I think it's important to see. And I think that they're doing their customers a good service, should I say? Because do they charge for that or no?
No, actually, if you buy into the break and you get it hit, it's graded for free at their cost.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's great. I would like to, I definitely might have to get into breaking just to even, to maybe even get lucky. I get lucky enough and get something cool. And now you get it graded for free and it's quick.
Yeah.
I don't think they can get 24
I think it's a great partnership.
You saw what?
I mean, I said, I think it's a great partnership.
Agreed.
It's going to be interesting to see if Beckett, right, attaches themselves to a similar model and gets attached to a big breaker as well to be able to do that as well. Obviously, Dallas, there's a way to do it, but
Yeah.
PSA for all intents and purposes is doing new and creative things to
Yeah.
be innovated. I mean, look, how many times did we say, why didn't my card get a PSA 10? And now look what they're doing. They're creating seller note or grading notes, right? Which we talked about. Now they're not the subs like Beckett, which I think sets Beckett aside from a lot of the other companies out there.
Yeah.
But man, we talk about it. Look, if you're not changing, then you're going to be the change out,
Hey,
right? And somebody's going to
we,
come take your
we
place.
just said it. Don't be like Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And it goes out to Beckett and other companies like these guys, right? And it's not, and trust me, I'm probably one of the top advocates for Beckett. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love Beckett. I've loved their brand for a very long time. But what I hate to see with them is I do not want to see them become Blockbuster.
No.
And I think Blockbuster, because I think the thing is if you lack innovation and you're not trying, and I think it's crazy. I think they're doing a big show overseas coming up soon. They invited me to. You know what I'm talking about, right? The grading seminar they're doing online. So that's a really cool idea. But I think for the most part, what we want to see it over here first.
Yeah. I mean, look,
I think we want to see it over here first.
I just got some cards graded from Beckett, man.
I know, man. You got those good cards.
There you go. I'm saying, look, they introduced, like, this is a new slab, and nobody even knows about it, right?
What's so special about that slab? I can't tell.
It's more clear. It's more acrylic.
I did notice that. I did notice that.
It's a better looking slab.
I did notice that. I did notice when you sent me the picture. I noticed that.
If they found a way to make it so it doesn't crack as easy, I think repackers would actually want to buy Beckett slabs.
Yeah.
But like I said, man, look, they got a good product. I think they did a terrible job of growing and changing, and I think they tried to do that with the new grading model, but I think that kind of fell out his face because I think they were so out of touch with the population, the consumer, and hopefully they do start to create change because I do like Beckett and what they have to offer. So
I agree with that. And I mean, I know I've been pushing to try to get Beckett to come on the show, and hopefully we do get them to come on the show at least before the Nationals. I'll probably reach out to them again when we go to Dallas this weekend and try to see if I can get somebody to get on the show, because I think it's important for them to know, from the consumer, how we really truly feel. I mean, like, we love you, but I don't think y'all love us. I don't think they love us. I think they kind of like, and I think it's very unfortunate because I feel like they offer a lot of value that people don't really necessarily see. So,
but I did like this though, right? And to show the kind of impact that Beckett still has on the community and the hobby at large is they came out, they said, we're going to have quicker returns on our subs, and we're going to lower the prices,
man.
And then right away there was an immediate reaction from PSA where they came out and they essentially mirrored the same kind of campaign that said we're going to get them out in 20 days or less. They lowered the price of the subs as well. And again, at the end of the day, the hobby wins, right? Obviously, grading kind of started to go down a little bit because the cost per card was so high. There was a time where you could get a card graded for $10 a pop, right? And it makes sense to grade those fringe cards, right? Now people they're a little more skeptical, or they're a little more reluctant to grade cards because the ROI isn't there. Whenever a PSA 9 sells for less than a raw card, what incentive do you have to grade cards at that point? And that's a whole nother topic. I mean, we've talked about that before, but obviously there's some irregularities in the hobby at this time that doesn't make any sense. And at some point, the market will start to correct itself, but we'll see kind of what's going to cause that change.
Yeah. All right. So look, I know we kind of went off topic on this, but I just kind of want to put our last little thoughts on the Walmart, GameStop getting in and new people getting into the space. My final thoughts are pretty much, if you're going to get into the space and you know nothing about this space, at least hire the right people, bring in the right, team, or at least do the right research to at least figure out a way to become a part of our space, because we're a really big space, unmarketed, untapped. I ain't gonna say unmarketed. Well, I think that's terminology. We're really a big market that's been marketed incorrectly.
Okay.
And that's
Fair
been
to say.
always my theory, because I feel like it's always been like, even with new people that I bring into the space, they're like, just, it seems like it's harder to get into the situation versus,
Well,
get
will,
into it.
will, will Fanatics have a Super Bowl commercial?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Well, are they going to be
Absolutely.
introducing their product?
Absolutely.
Or is it just going to be sports cards? Or is it just going to be memorabilia and athletes?
Here's what's going to happen. They're going to continue to do those white parties at the Super Bowl, which I'll be at the Super Bowl that's coming up next year in New Orleans. Hopefully we'll see Joe Burrow versus the 49ers. But that's another topic. I think that Fanatics is definitely going to be a part of every element of the collectible space, and that goes on both sides, with us engaging with us and also engaging with athletes. That's what we have not seen done efficiently, and I think they're building up to do better. I mean, and we got to probably talk about, when we get closer, talk about this Fanatics Fest and break down everything that's going on. Maybe we'll bring on somebody special on here to talk about it a little bit more. But there's so much that could be said about even people like Fanatics, because they're kind of a new company that's kind of come into the space and been very aggressive lately and saying, hey, look, we want to be a part of it. So I guess they're one of the new people who actually gravitated towards it, and actually, like, they're kind of actually putting their foot, putting their money where their mouth is, so to speak. Right.
Well, I mean, how many FanDuel commercials have you seen? How many DraftKings commercials have you seen? Right. So when are we going to see the first tops? You can pull a 101 superfractor of LeBron James. Like, when are we going to see that? Right. So when we start to see that, and I think that goes along the lines of being marketed in a way that's going to attract more people, right? When is PSA going to have a commercial, right, that says turn your $50 card into a $500 card,
Absolutely.
right? And then it's going to start to take off in that sense. So, I mean, look, we're giving out gems. You heard it here first, right? We haven't seen it. So if you start to see it, we said it here first.
There you go. So next topic, man, NBA off seasons. And shout out to Call the Buyer. Nice hat. You're absolutely right. If you want this beautiful hat, feel free to click right here at the very top. You get your order your hat today. We have a few sizes left. Appreciate you, Call the Buyer. I know you got your hat in the mail as well. Hopefully you got it and enjoy it. Next topic, NBA off season moves. How do you feel about what is going on with the NBA so far? What would you change, man? What do you like? What you don't like? I mean, man, NBA's all over the place right now.
So a lot of the moves that have been made, the very most impactful moves, there's a big question mark, right? And that is the health of the player going to the new team. Paul George, Klay Thompson, Chris Paul, right? And I'm going to tell you right now, I think the best acquisition, right? Perfect world, if dude can stay healthy, is Chris Paul to the Spurs, man. Like we were talking about this. What did Wemby need in order to take the next step forward and be the presence and be potentially the face of the league, right, for the coming years? What needs to happen? They need a point guard, right?
Yeah.
Who isn't a shoot first, a more facilitating point guard.
Yeah.
They got that, right? Now, if homeboy can stay on the floor, right, because he hasn't been, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to knock him a little bit, because if he doesn't get hurt in game 6 against the freaking Warriors, we could potentially say that the Rockets were probably going to make it to the finals and have a chance to win, the title that year. But he didn't, right? And I think the Warriors went on to win. But Chris Paul, and he should have been with the Lakers, right? Then the NBA came in and said, nope, we're going to
Yeah.
So Chris Paul to San Antonio makes them a legitimate contender next year just from that one acquisition. They make the playoffs next year. I guarantee it.
Okay, I'll give you that. And I know we're talking about early. Man, we probably talking about the moves. You're doing predictions already. I will agree with the fact that they'll probably make the playoffs. They'll make the play in. How about that? They'll make the play in. They'll make the play in. So they'll play in, but I don't think they win that play in, but I think they get in the play in. Because especially with the fact it's not 8 teams anymore, it's freaking 12. Sorry. No, it's 10. No, it's 10. Is it the bottom 10? I can't even keep up anymore.
It's 12 because it's 14.
That's right.
For the
for the last. So it's not that hard to make the playoffs technically, or the play in anymore, which since they've added that. Man, so far I'm not sure. Like I'm a Bulls fan, and the Bulls have been trash for like been disappointing for the last 4 or 5 years. No matter how much talent we have, we still can't figure it out. It's probably because of Lonzo Ball, mainly because we don't have a legitimate point guard. So bringing in Josh Giddey is very interesting. I don't know if giving up Alex Caruso was the solution, but I do like Josh Giddey. I did like Alex Caruso. I think the trade benefits both teams. And people may not like what I'm saying, but I think that Josh Giddey is going to help with making sure people get the ball.
Just hide your kids.
Just hide your kids. You was waiting to say that. Hide the kids.
Well, I'm just saying, man. But look, in regards to Chicago, man, they can't give Zach LaVine away, man. They try to attach a first-round pick, and they're trying to give him away. DeRozan, LeBron really wants.
He's going to be a Laker.
LA. And
I hope so.
And look, we didn't talk about the draft. And is that because
we're talking about that too? We're going to talk about the draft. Go ahead.
But I'm going to tell you this: who got drafted? Right. The only person, right, that everybody talks about is Bronny. Like,
ain't that crazy?
And he's the 55th pick, right? He gets more talk. He gets more talk than the number 1 pick does, right?
Well, I don't really think anybody cares about this draft minus Bronny. I think the most interesting thing, and then we're going to talk about LeBron James and Bronny in the next topic. We actually don't want to talk about that right now, because I wanted to piggyback off this conversation with the NBA offseason moves by talking about LeBron and Bronny and give you my 2 cents on that, and you tell me yours. But like with the NBA offseason, I do like Paul George going to Philly. That's an amazing move for them. I really wish Paul George could have went to a different team. Who was I talking to? I think I might have been talking to either Wiz or somebody else this morning, and we talked about the idea of Paul George going to play somewhere else. I mean, what would you like to see Paul George play at?
It would have been interesting if he went to Dallas, right? But if he goes to Dallas, Clay doesn't go.
Well, how about this? How about he go play for the Warriors?
He was almost there. They really wanted him. They really
lost Clay.
Him.
You know what's interesting about this theory? That's what it was. I was talking to Wiz about this yesterday. How many what Paul George's 3-point percentage was last year?
I don't.
41.5% from the 3. You know what Clay's was?
Well, he didn't play that much.
Well, you know what Clay's was?
What was it, man?
38.
So you replaced Paul George with Clay. They played about the same amount.
Better defense with Paul George.
Yeah,
I think that helps. I like Paul George playing for the Warriors better. They don't have to make as many. I don't think they have to do too much to that team. What scares me about a lot of these teams that have good teams, right? When I mean good teams, they have a lot of talent.
Yeah.
The Bulls have a lot of talent. The Warriors have a lot of talent, right? The Rockets have a hell of a lot of talent. You know what's interesting? The Knicks have a lot of talent, and they made probably one acquisition. And when you think about the fact that they didn't even have Mitchell Robinson in the playoffs, they didn't have Julius Randle in the playoffs, and they had an unhealthy Jalen Brunson and an unhealthy OG Anunoby. So you think about that team, and now they brought in another shooter, right? And they get in some other things. And I still think the Knicks should probably trade Julius Randle, because I think you can get more out of him because he's going to want to be the man, and I think we've already kind of come to the conclusion he's not going to be the man in New York. I think it's going to be Jalen Brunson, if it's safe to say, and then you'll have a couple, everybody else will kind of piggyback off of him. But the NBA offseason in terms of the draft, nobody really cares about anybody else. And then what was the other offseason move that happened that you Clay to the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah. That's going to be impactful, man. It's going to take a little bit of steam off. He
was 0 for 10 from the 3 in the most important game.
Yeah, it's all right, man. Clay is still Clay, man. He's still part of the Splash Brothers, the most dynamic duo.
I'm so sorry to tell you, man, but Clay, if Clay's going to average 0 from 10 from the 3, then I don't think he helps
man.
anybody.
You act like nobody's averaged 0 for 10. James Harden averaged 0 for 10 at one stretch as well, man. So stop it.
I don't know, man. But here's the thing. I will say this though. I think you're getting a good deal on Klay Thompson, because once you realize it, I mean, you're getting what is he getting? The veteran minimum? I think it's what that is. $50 million for 3 years. It's like almost $15 million a year. I mean,
Look, I think
for a 6-time, 7-time All-Star,
I think
you're getting
he
a
almost
deal.
felt like the Warriors were at the end of the run, right? So the motivation to get up every day and grind it out. Now I can tell you, all right, from looking at the NBA horizon, he could have went probably anywhere he wanted to go. All right, he had the Lakers on the map. They really thought that they had a chance at him, and he spurned them. And he went over to the Mavs, and I kind of think that was because the Mavs just got out of the finals. They were missing a couple pieces, and he said, "Hey, I can be the missing link to that puzzle, right? And I could fill in the gap." And I think that you're going to see a motivated Clay, and we're going to see a better, right, Mavs team moving next year. And maybe he can help Luka play some defense or learn how to play some defense.
Clay not gonna help him play defense. They also the Mavericks actually lost Daniel Jones Jr.
Yeah, well, I thought his name was Daniel or Derek.
I'm sorry, Derek Jones Jr. I apologize. Yeah, you're right. So they lost him.
To the Clippers,
he's
right?
He's probably arguably could be just as good as Clay.
Stop it, man. I think you're really diminishing
right now. I'm talking
impact.
about right now. I'm not talking about what have you done for me lately? And Clay has not showed up in 2 years. I'm sorry.
Relax, man. Pause, man.
Stop. I'm telling you the truth, and you know
it. Right, and before you move to the next topic.
Yep, we're almost there because LeBron James and Bronny James,
Well, there was a report that came out, and you know I'm a homer, so I have to talk about it. But they said that Sengun and Jalen Green are up for max extensions. And Gerald, and look,
Clay is a bum. He knows he knows exactly how I feel. It's the truth.
And neither one of them are being offered max extension. So what does that talk about for Sengun and Jalen Green? So neither one of them are going to get max extensions.
You know why?
Cade Cunningham got one. Scotty Barnes got one, but they're not going to pay Jalen Green. So
they got too much talent on that team, and I don't think they really have a direction yet.
Yeah, but see,
when Sengun and Jalen Green play on the same team, when Sengun and Jalen Green play on the same floor, whose team is it?
Sengun.
There you go. And I don't think that offense works good that way, though, because I don't think they're going to be able to coexist. They got to figure it out, but I don't think it works long term. But
one of them's gone.
We should be talking about the off-season acquisitions. So another off-season acquisition that you're probably not even thinking about is somebody that used to play for the Houston Rockets, and I bet you don't even know this. A sneaky play by the Clippers, Kevin Porter Jr. 20-some points a game coming. Bro, don't sleep on that boy. I know he probably not the best example, but he's a 20-point game guy all day.
Hey, Matt, you remember when you picked up that one-on-one? I said, don't do it, and you still did it, and you still did okay on it, right?
I did great.
KPJ ain't the play, man. That dude ain't gonna stay on the court.
I didn't sit here and say he was a play, but he's very talented, though. You can't.
He didn't make it. Talent. He didn't make it in Cleveland.
He didn't make it in Cleveland. Why? Because he was playing under another point guard. No, he's not in jail, Gerald. He's not in jail. He's not in jail. Actually, last minute, I know so much about the story because I was invested in Kevin Porter Jr. Basically, the situation with the WNBA player is she dropped the charges and actually decided to say something along the lines of he didn't really do it or something. But by that time, whatever. I wasn't there. But
he did it.
Whatever. But at the end of the day, so what ended up happening is they ended up dropping when they didn't drop the charges, but because she didn't want to file anything, they just ended up the Houston Rockets dropped him. He lost his NBA pass, whatever, and he ended up playing overseas for about a year and a half. And now he's back to play with the Clippers, and I think it's a great pickup for them. The only problem is they got another problem. They got a lot of young talent, and at some point, when are they going to pivot over to focusing on their young talent? They got Bowen Talon. Now they just re-signed Russell Westbrook too.
They did.
I don't understand their situation right now, and they just re-signed James Harden.
And Kawhi coming back. So.
Yep, and Kawhi is coming back. It's going to be very interesting there. Don't want to talk too much about that. We're running out of time. LeBron James and Bronny James. My 2 cents. 2 cents is this. People may feel very indifferent about the fact that LeBron James bringing in his son to work to come play with the Lakers. But the reality is if any of us had that opportunity to do so, we would do it. If you had a chance to make your son's dream come true, you would do it. And I think it's an amazing thing to see. And honestly, and I'm just gonna throw this out there. Maybe Bronny's trolling us. Maybe Bronny's trolling us. So if he would have played well in college, right? Think about this. If he plays well in college, he's a top 5 pick. If he averages 20 points a game, he's a top 5 pick. You can't get him at the second round. If you're the Lakers, you have to figure out a way to get him. So this is just throwing this out there now. I would not be surprised that Bronny wins Rookie of the Year, especially with this rookie class, especially with there's no star power that we know of, right? Except for Rob Dillingham. Except for Rob Dillingham, we know he can ball. He's definitely good. He's playing on the right young team. There's also another guy named A.J. Johnson I've heard about, and I've been reading about this guy for a while. He played with your boy, the guys he's for your team. We just talked about him. Jalen Green. He's actually from the Jalen Green camp. A very athletic wing player. The Milwaukee Bucks got a steal by picking him up because I think he's going to help that team too. But I think it's an amazing idea to have Bronny literally troll win Rookie of the Year, because here's the thing. Think about this. Bronny shoots about 40% from the 3. All he has to do is dad has to feed him wide open shots.
Hey, what is he going to call his dad on the court, man? There was a poll going around.
Daddy.
Hey, Daddy, pass me the ball.
Daddy, I'm open.
No, but here goes the thing, and I think that the thing that's kind of lost, right, in the translation of it all.
Oh yeah, I'm going to the first game. I will go there. I'm sorry, I'm going to that first game.
Bronny was projected coming out of high school to be a number 17 pick in the draft, right? So he was already a highly touted Gatorade Player of the Year. I mean, he was a skilled basketball player. Now,
he averaged 15 points a game.
It turned out that he was 6'1" and not 6'4", right? I mean, but we see that all the time. And what hurt him, and I think somebody put it, like if you take the fact that it's Bronny and LeBron James, right? Mm-hmm. And you said if you had a kid that was highly touted, right, coming out of high school, right, and had a very serious medical condition that put his life and his career at jeopardy, right, and his parents stepped in, who had the ability, right, to step in and create a career path, right, the dream, fulfill the dream for his kid, regardless of his basketball, right? Would it be okay to do it? But the fact that it's LeBron James and it's Bronny, like the dude can ball, right? He wasn't, he doesn't go, like USC didn't get Bronny James because he sucked, right?
Yeah.
USC just doesn't go after talent just because LeBron James is his dad. Obviously it helps, but in the same notion, the dude can ball. He just had a medical condition, dropped his stock, and I don't think he ever really recovered from it. So yeah, we'll see. It's going to be encouraging. I saw here it was a chess move. Look, we all knew that wherever Bronny went, that you could draft him number 1 because you knew that you were going to get LeBron James with him, right? We already knew that was his dream to play for his son. So they put it out there. He's only going to play for the Suns. He's only going to play for the Lakers. He's going to go overseas. We're going to try this again next year. Okay, like they were putting that out there, and now how legitimate that threat was or that ultimatum was, and time will tell, right? If they were actually going to do that, or actually, it's never going to tell because he got drafted by the Lakers where LeBron was at. LeBron opted out, right, and he could have went wherever the hell he wanted to go, but he's staying there in the Lakers. He's playing with his son, and like they said, the first father-son duel, they already have more points than any other father-son duel that ever played in the league. So
exactly. And shout out to LeBron for bringing his son up, man, and helping him out. And at the end of the day, hey, man, forget all the naysayers. Haters gonna hate, man. That's all I'm gonna say. Haters gonna hate no matter what. But at the end of the day, LeBron James, kudos to you and your family for being able to make this happen. It's gonna be really fun and exciting to see. I hope he wins Rookie of the Year. I hope he's been trolling us. And I hope that, at the end of the day, bro, you got to think about this. With this draft class, how many points do you think he has to score to average to win Rookie of the Year? 15 points? 18 points?
Nah, more than that, man.
I don't know, man. I mean, we talk. Look at all these players that have been drafted and think about the impact. The guys I literally just mentioned to you are not going to be the number 1 guys on the team.
Well,
even the number 1 pick. Bro, the number 1 pick.
Wemby averaged more than 20
I'm talking about Rookie of the Year, though, this year. That Bronny's going to be in the class with.
I know,
Think
but
about
I'm telling you, you have to score over 20 points a game. I'm
yeah,
sorry,
but
but
I
that
think
just has to happen.
well, I don't know, man. I don't know if this draft class is going to be able to. I'm almost willing to bet that I don't think anybody in this draft class is going to average 20 points a game.
Ah, stop it. Stop it.
I mean, think about it. The number 1 draft pick was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks. You mean to tell me he's going to average 20 points a game?
You know the thing that I like the most about Bronny, right?
What's
That
that?
he's not that he's number 9. And like this Victory Investment says, how sick a gold Prism Bronny rookie will be. And you know how sick a jersey numbered gold Bronny will be. He's number 9, right? So you can get 9 of 10 jersey number match. Matters to some, doesn't matter at all, but I think that would
Yeah.
be a pretty sick card to have.
Yeah, if you match it up with a Topps Chrome gold LeBron James, how good is that card going to look next to each other? See, Gerald said the exact same thing. I
Stop it, man.
agree.
If
Average 20
Gerald's gonna
points would
give
be
so
tough for
many
this
damn
rookie class.
opinions,
I
he's
don't think
gonna
this
have to.
rookie, and that's another conversation. But I don't think you're paying attention to the fact that all the good players that put, like, bro, we're talking about Rob Dillingham, right? Rob Dillingham is probably he's probably one of the top scorers that could put, that you would put up there. He can score. He's on the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's not going to start.
All I know
He's
is
not going to
this,
start
man.
out the gate. He's not going to start.
If
And
I
I don't
hear
even know
more,
if he can go ahead.
if I hear more comments from Gerald, man, he's gonna have to bring his ass on this damn show, man, because he's gonna stop having to sideline it. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. And at the end of the day, that's cool. But look, I'm just telling you the truth. We'll probably talk about this a little bit later as we get closer to the NBA season. Next topic is actually something somebody brought to me online, was how to get over your love of cards. And I think I want to kind of break this down a little bit, right? Because shout out to, I think I sent it to you earlier.
You did.
I sent it to you earlier. A gentleman actually reached out to me. Shout out to Cupid's Cards Lounge. He actually had a question, and he said, for the nice show, how do you get over the love of your cards to become a seller or a flipper? So I didn't actually put it in there correctly, but it's how do you get over your love of cards and become a seller or a flipper? And that's something that, I've dealt with. I actually did a YouTube video about that. Am I a flipper or am I a collector? Or a collector or a flipper? I think you want to address this topic first.
Well, I can only talk about how I was able to kind of turn that switch. And it happened because, as some of you may know, I had a pretty extensive Kobe Bryant collection featured in Beckett. If for you guys that don't know, Beckett used to have a segment of their magazine where they highlighted super collectors. So I was a super collector for Kobe Bryant. Actually, it's one of my greatest, most cherished memories for me, because that was one of my goals growing up. And so when I had my son back in 2007, I needed a way to pay for food, Infamil, diapers. And so for me, the quickest thing that I could turn to was my Kobe Bryant collection. Ended up selling it all in one swoop. I think I went over to TriStar with my entire collection, and someone bought it in one swoop. And I think at the time I sold it for like $12,000. And again, we're talking 2007. That was a ton of money at the time, probably worth millions of dollars at this point if I kept it all. But once I took that Band-Aid off, right? Obviously, there was a part of me that left with it, that took like that kiddish, joyous kind of feeling where I was just going to keep a card no matter what, if it went up or down. And so for me, that's the way that I was able to turn that switch, right? And I'm not saying that it has to be something that drastic for someone to turn from, collector to seller, but at the same time, right, that's what it took for me, right? Because at the end of the day, I buy what I like, right? I was never a autograph person. I was a patch person, right? 4-color, 5-color patch. The better the patch, the better. I was a parallel guy, right? I like refractors. I like spectrums. I like,
how can you get over the love
radiance, right? So for me, it was having to sell that, right? And not kind of looking backwards, because I know that I would never get back to that level ever again. So for me, I just look at it now. Hey, look, they're cool. I've already had the greatest collection that I could probably ever have. I'll never get back to that point. So for me, it's really easy to say, hey, this one I can sell. And plus, I do it for a living now to provide for my family. So I can't get attached to cards as much anymore.
Well, you gave you the long drawn out version. Let me give you the shorter version. The shorter version basically is if you are in a space where your job is to buy, sell, trade cards, then you have to buy, sell, trade cards. There's no, like, the collecting aspect of it is, to me, the what do they call that when you, I think that's the bonus if you can afford to do it. I always tell people I know that if you can afford to keep the card, then keep the card. If you can't afford to keep the card, don't keep the card. But I think that you have to figure out what's actually worth keeping. And if you don't know that answer when you get a card that's worth keeping, then keep going. And then you'll know when you can't get it again. You know when the chase to try to get it, you'll say, oh, man, I should have kept that card. You know, and you have cards like that. You say, hey, man, I should have kept that card. But I think to get over your love of cards is very difficult to do because I ain't gonna lie to you, I felt like I had to do it. But at some point in time, right? I don't know what's in everybody's bank account. But if your card collection is worth more than what's in your bank account, we may have to make some life changes. And I think that that's where you have to put on your big boy pants and say, man, look, man, I got to sell. I have to, you know, I make it harder. I will say this as a collector, because I still like to collect. I make it harder for myself. That's one of the things I do. I don't say, yeah, all right, look, I love Jordan. I love LeBron. Okay, well, I'm only going to buy exquisite LeBrons or Jordans. So that way everything else is, I'm good. I told myself I'm only going to look for LeBron exquisite and Jordan exquisite. Now I think I told you, Mark, I'm not even buying LeBron exquisite. I only want Jordan exquisite.
I didn't know that. But here goes the thing, though. My network is curated based upon what I bought in the past. Okay. And so a lot of the viewership that I receive on my Facebook or my Instagram, it caters to what I'm buying, but my audience, right? So obviously I buy what I like and I sell, the cards that I like as well to the audience who has similar interests in what I have as well. So like I said, everybody models are different, but start off slow, right? Start creating piles. What can you live without, right? What is a definite has to stay in your collection? I would start off small. Yep. And then that's a easy way to start getting rid. Yeah, definitely. Like if you just say rip the Band-Aid off, then you're going to be left with a permanent hole that is impossible to fill. But like I said, if you were to create some piles in front of you and say, hey, I can live without this, I can live without that, right? This card brings me joy, this card doesn't, right? Then you can start to categorize your collection based upon that. What brings me joy and what doesn't, right? That's almost like decluttering your house when you got to get rid of some old clothes, right? You ask yourself, what brings me joy?
Absolutely. So Victory Investments actually made a very good statement. He said he asked the card shop owner here in Kansas City if he had a PC. He said, I would have gone out of business 30 years ago if I had a PC.
Yeah. Obviously, that's his business, right? Yeah, but I mean, 100%. There are some card shop owners. Hey,
absolutely.
Hey, you know how to tell a card shop's PC? You ask them for a price on something that you want. If the price is too high, that's their PC.
Absolutely. They don't want to sell it.
All right, and I was gonna say, my collection far exceeds my bank account right now. Unfortunately, card rich, cash poor.
Hey, but you know what?
It definitely does.
Hey, look, I'm not gonna lie to you. I do feel like I definitely do feel like there's a. I'm not saying telling people not to collect cards. For the record, I'm not telling people what to collect card. I just think that, for sake of this question, is how do you get over the love of your cards? And you got to figure out what are you doing it for? Are you doing this? Are you doing it to level up your collection because you want to get an exquisite Jordan or LeBron, or are you doing it just to pay? Are you doing it as a full-time job? Do you aspire to have a card shop? You got to ask yourself these questions, and then you set yourself up with these goals, and then you say, all right, well, my goal is to make $100,000 this year. Well, guess what? That might not align up with keeping an exquisite Jordan or keeping an exquisite LeBron, because that could be the difference of you hitting that mark. So I think you have some big decisions to make. And I'm sure you'll get through them, man. I think it's one of those things where we'll continue to grow together with that situation. I mean, I literally struggle. I still struggle with that.
I know you still got those Jay-Z cards.
Man, stop. Well, I'm actually winging off those, right? I'm still winging off those. Shout out to Jay-Z 2005. Literally just harassed me on Instagram saying, "Sell me those 1-on-1 Jay-Z's." Well, you gonna have to pay. You gonna have to pay to play. I'm not giving them away. All right. So next topic, we're gonna probably make this a little light because I know it's kind of one of our last topics of the night. Is how would you change the National Card Show? We've talked about, like, we've seen. And I feel like we're going to probably talk about Fanatics Fest at one point in time. But I feel like with the National being the leader in sports cards, right, in terms of a show, right? They're the leader in sports cards for a show. I mean, honestly, tell me, what would you change?
Well, first of all, right, I think that being able to be a vendor at the National, honestly, at this point, because of how many people are there, you shouldn't be grandfathering anything in. Right?
I agree.
Honestly, it does a disservice to the hobby because it's
Agreed.
almost like, it's a good old boy network.
It's a club.
Right?
We said it.
For all intents and purposes, right?
It's a club.
So it's one of those things where we talk about, if you want to bring more people to the hobby, then bring more people to the hobby.
There you go.
If you want to be prehistoric and have the same vendors there year after year, like, granted, there's some good ones, right? But there's some that you can see that everybody's like, man, I don't know about this one, right? Like his collection and what he's trying to sell probably doesn't speak to the masses, but in general,
but that's okay though.
And
that's
again,
okay though,
right? I mean, there's a card for everybody, right? Those guys got to be. Right. And being like, I'm from the outside looking in because I've never been to a National, but I want to go to the National. I want to be a vendor at this show, and it's impossible. Right. The wait list is so long. Right. And
I don't even know where I'm at on the wait list.
Kudos to them because they created a product that has so much demand. But again, before it's already sold, they already have vendors lined up already with tables 2-3 years in advance. And I mean, again, kudos to them to be able to create a product that's such in demand. But what that does is that alienates the people who want to get in the space, who are just saying, you know what, they don't want to see me there, right? I won't go, right? And then it takes away from it. So that's my take.
My 2 cents is this. And I'm going to kind of piggyback off what you just said a minute ago because, and I'm not being biased. I'm not going to be biased. I'm going to be pretty much, streamlined. So here's the thing. There are people who literally strategically only set up at the Nationals. I feel like if you're that person, I don't think that you should be able to set up at the Nationals. I think that you should want the movers and shakers in the space who are proactive in this space, because I think that that's the important part. That's the heartbeat and pulse of the hobby. Like, the reality is, right? The reality is this: we can't grow with people with people who don't want to add water to the, put water
to the well.
Plant. You know what I'm saying? So I think we have to be able to bring people in who are going to continue to make things better, who are going to push us to the limit, right? Let's see, Shimmy. I'm not going to miss this because I know Shimmy's on here for a minute. She says, have something interactive for new collectors, get them engaged and not so discouraged into selling your cards. Trade nights, networking event just for new collectors, having the OGs teach the new ones. Exactly. So we've talked about take the hobby out of the lobby. Hey, there you go. So I think that you got to get rid of the guys who are not being proactive in this space. I think you have to come up with a creative way to make it to where anybody can be able to get in. Like, because right now it's a secret. Man, hey man, how can I get into Nationals? Can you tell me?
But you hear what they're doing though, right? So if you're subletting your space out to people, they're gonna ban you from being able to shut up. I mean, but that's the only way that the new people can get in.
But that's okay though, right? Because I think that's what they told me this year was, hey, look, we're doing a lot of different things. We'll be able to get you in next year. Well, why do I have to wait till next year? Why can't we just say, look, this is how we're going to release the tables, and then people are going to say, well, hey, I've been at the Nationals for the last 30 years. Okay, but that's fine and all, but the hobby, like I just said it earlier, if you want to continue to be like blockbusters, you're going to see companies like Fanatics Fest. You're going to see companies like Culture Collision. You're going to see companies like the Burbank Card Show start to, or even the Dallas Show, if you want to throw that in the mix. You're going to see shows like that take over as being the better show, because we're going to continue to push you to the limit. We're going to continue to come up with new ideas, make it fresh, right? And make it an experience that people want to be a part of. And I think that people are already excited about the Nationals, but even you, like, man, if I can't get a table, I don't want to go. That's not encouraging. Well, because here's the thing. Your price of admission, right? Your price of admission, you're going to spend a lot of money to come to the show. You want to sell inventory. You're proactive in the space, right? Why can't you get it? Why can't you get a legit chance to get a table? Every other rules, like all the other rules apply at every show except for the National.
Yeah. But shout out to North Shore Cards, right? They're putting that after hours event there. I mean, the vendors that they handpicked to be able to show up there are people with amazing collections, great sellers, great attitudes, good vibes only.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's I mean, they're doing something, right? And it's a small space, right? A small portion, percentage of what the National should ultimately look like. So it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. So kudos to those guys.
I'm mad I didn't come up with that idea. But good shout out to those guys for coming out with that idea to do that. And I think we do have a table there. We don't have a table at the Nationals, but we got a table at the after party at the Nationals. And also I was invited. Oh, shoot, that's a different show. I was invited to something else. I can't talk about it now. But let's see, Archer Damas picks out with the old and in with the new. I will say this. I don't want to be that negative and just sit here and cut the people who've been doing it for a long time. I appreciate you and respect you guys for holding down the National for a very long time. All we're looking for is a legit chance to be able to get a table. That's all it is. And that's probably like the only thing I probably would change about the Nationals outside of maybe some locations, maybe. Travel the world, be a little daring a little bit. Try some, be a little, I would like to see the National become a little bit more edgy.
But here goes the other thing, right? If you're running out of space, create more space, right?
That's not that easy though. It's not that easy.
I understand that, but if you have 10,000 vendors and you don't have 10,000 spots for them, all that's going to create, like you said, is resentment and animosity to a brand that you said is the Super Bowl, like it's at the mountaintop for everything.
So I think that. Well, I think the problem is they have a great product. It's been working for a long time. And at the end of the day, it's either they're going to be like Blockbuster or figure out a way to be innovative and figure out a legit way for people to be able to have a table.
Because what's going to happen, right, is there's going to be a show, right? If they don't create the demand, they're going to have a show that happens on the same weekend as National. And it's going to take away from their power. So
I agree.
Throw it out there,
man. You know what? That's an interesting concept and actually interesting idea. I want to talk more about that during Fanatics Fest, because I always talk about that blank check. That if Culture Collision had that blank check, I would do this, I would do that, I would do this, I would do that. So to see some of the ideas that Fanatics Fest has started doing, and I don't really want to promote it too much, but I just want to say that some of the ideas that they have, we will talk about a little bit more. Are in alignment with some of the ideas that I have. And I think that being able to see how they execute it will kind of let me know where I need to be at. But I think it's really interesting to see as we push the hobby. But what if Fanatics Fest happened the same weekend? Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, this first Fanatics Fest is the best show we've ever been to. What if that happens the same weekend as the Nationals? And then now we have a different idea, a different concept. And it's like, okay, well, you don't want the new collectors. You don't want the new hobby, but we do.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, man. I mean, obviously, like you said, out with the old, in with the new, man. Either be the change or be the change.
Absolutely. Right? All right. So I know we're about hour and 6 minutes over, man. And I think we got some final thoughts to kind of talk about. If you want to hit some of these final thoughts, any final thoughts you probably have out there. Also, make sure you guys click and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, whatever. Make sure you click and subscribe. And if you do not have the Culture Collision New Era hat, make sure you click the right here. Make sure you buy that hat. It's actually a really nice fitted hat. I still have a few sizes left. Man, it's actually one of my favorite hats I've ever done. It's my only hat I've ever done.
The only hat you ever done. So
a New Era hat, yeah.
Well, you said that you'll be in Nashville and Dallas this weekend. I will just be in Dallas this weekend. Should be good times as always. Dallas puts on a great show. Yep. They have a ton of foot traffic. It can be a buying show. It can be a selling show. You know, sometimes when you're picking and choosing between what shows to go to, you got to pick, you know, which side of the table you kind of want to be on. So nothing but good things to say about the Dallas show. I'm excited to be there this weekend, get to hang out with Ralph. It feels like I haven't seen him in like 8 weeks. I think it's been 2. But we'll be set up there. Come by, say hello.
Yes.
Prism, he does charge $5 for pictures. So if you want to come by and take a picture with him there, he'll be more than happy to take one with this glow-in-the-dark hat. So that's all I have to say, man. My final thought.
Hey, look, I have nothing else to say besides thank you guys for watching. But I want to address one thing. We actually didn't talk about this. Katie, Booker, Spider, they're going, he said, come to the H. Oh, Spider already re-signed with the Cleveland Cavaliers, which I'm very surprised that he did, to be honest with you. I actually didn't understand that move. I didn't think he was happy there. Oh, when is Culture Fest? What the heck is that? When is Culture Fest?
I don't know, man. It's like you almost have Fanatics Fest and Culture Collision. It's a baby. So when is that happening, man?
Oh, you said Culture Fest coming? Culture Fest. Oh no. All right, see you guys this weekend, man. Appreciate you guys chopping in for the show today. It was really cool. You got anything else you want to say? Any questions anybody has? Jump and throw it out there. We'll answer any questions real quick. If not,
Culture Collision is in September. Fanatics Fest is in August. I don't know which one you're referring to. Houston, Huey. Sorry, Houston, Huey. I would like to see if Kevin Durant does make his way over to Houston, man. I think that I saw him hanging out with Drake. I don't know if they were in Toronto or if they were in Houston. But bring your ass, as Anthony Edwards said. KD, bring your ass to Houston.
Dang, man, now the kids can't watch the show.
They can watch TNT. They can watch us too.
Oh, stop, man. Well, on that note, good night. Buy my hat.